Amazing Astronaut reporting in. Today's comic review is Sentry Legacy. Writing done by Jason Liu. Art by Luigi, Zagaria, and David Cutler. Covers by Ben Harvey. And here is Legacy to read the opening segment to get you folks up to speed about who Sentry is.
He is more or less Superman mixed with Forrest Gump of the Marvel Universe, who's very mentally unstable. Sentry debuted as a part of the Marvel Knights, a grittier imprint of Marvel stories in the early 2000s. The story was by Paul Jenkins and Jay Lee that tells the story about a man named Bob Reynolds, who turns out to be best friends with everyone this whole time. From Hulk, Rogue, the Fantastic Four, and so on. Hulk is the most notable of these retcon friendships because he was used within the final fight during World War Hulk. He could have faded into obscurity after his miniseries, but after a few years during Bendis' new Avengers saga, they starred him as their signature trump card. He even met Paul Jenkins, the writer above, during the new Avengers story arc as the second arc for that series. It was weird. Yet, whenever people talk about Sentry, they only talk about his ultra-violent moments and not his man versus self struggle with the Void, which is far more important for the story season so he doesn't curb stomp everyone he fights. For the status of the current continuity, during King of Black, he died and went to Valhalla, which, in the year 2020, sets the stage for this comic.
Thank you, Legacy, for reading the intro. Subscribe to his YouTube channel down below. If you don't, well, let's just say goblins might invade your house. You've been warned. For a personal connection to the Sentry, I remember getting a Best of Avengers book from the library when I was 12. Within that book was a Siege issue number 2, with the Ares vs. Sentry fight. No, I can't show it here. Invincible, eat your heart out. And now here's the main meat of the video. Sentry Legacy. First few pages are about Jessica Jones starting back up alias investigations and talking to her husband Luke Cage, who is currently mayor of New York City right now, by the way. Happened in Devil's Reign, if you're curious. Kinda glossing over the opening pages because not much happens in them. And yes, that is a Hello Kitty monitor. Breaking Bad reference? Misty Knight comes in with ACD, aka Aberrant Crimes Division, which debuted in the Jeff Lemire Sentry run, to investigate a building blown up with Sentry powers. The heroes question why this is because Sentry is currently dead, which happened in another event, King in Black if you're curious. From the Guard, our main character is introduced by exposition by her roommate Clara. Mallory Gibbs is missing, and she does not know where she is. Our main antagonist is also introduced by exposition from Misty Knight. Parallels, truly. Yes, it's just about all exposition as far, making the first issue have extra pages with this much exposition and non-setup was a band-aid of sorts. Awful acronym, by the way, awful out of context. We now actually flash back to our main character. Took 9 pages out of 29 pages of issue 1 to get here for the main character. And to note, it's doable to do that. But when the story features Jessica Jones and Misty Knight heavily, who've all had their own titles in the past, it's a weird choice. The beginning of the comic feels like an opener to another comic story. Mallory Gibbs works at a newspaper and does not feel like she is doing the best she can do because she has been put into a clickbait writer role. She has a master's and a Hearst Award, which is a real journalist award, by the way. She says that her editor thinks of her as a health and safety liability, but we never see the editor say this, so the character could just be paranoid. But the writing does want to avoid her to look paranoid. Also, it notes that she said she worked at Daily Bugle and The Line, but The Line was merged into Daily Bugle. Just wanted to note that, since that happened during Secret Invasion. That's just off the top of my head. She gets onto the rail stop and talks about how investigative journos are always at risk when shady corporations and corrupt politicians are in the world. So those are bad. I can easily just make fun of this by bringing up Uncle Ben's murderer. But for far more relevance to the plot, the bad guy of this series is not either of those. Nothing can stop my drive, and I'm Mallory Gibbs. She reaffirms her name as she bumps into a backpack. So this is kick-ass, but you can't acknowledge your character as a loser. I've come a long way from being mistaken for a charity case from Denver, Colorado. You work on clickbait articles. You talked about that a few pages ago. She enters back into her house and greets her roommate. Gibbs wants to make a click-clock unboxing video, but before that, Clara needs to pick up some nails. I assure you this is enthralling stuff, dear viewer. Also, soup. The sunny side-up egg looks cute. I think those are smiling daisies. Ha ha ha. Whatever, it's still cute as hell. Did you know the First Lady of New York likes her egg Benny at that brunch place down the street? That's the listicle I submitted today. Riveting stuff. Very. We should go out there on the weekend. Oh, for sure. My mom got me into calligraphy when I was 7. I'll practice every day to work on my motor skills. It still takes tons of my concentration not to let my hand slip, as it usually does. But thanks to her, I have an excessive fascination with Japanese stationery. And having over 120k followers tells me that I'm not alone with this very healthy addiction. Oh god. Hi everyone, welcome back to Serenity's desk. I had a blood day at work, so I traded myself to another blind bag from my favorite shop, Sweet Leaf Stationers. Now let's see what I got, shall we? I'm sorry. I had to do that. I had to make others suffer as I had. Things go boom when she grabs a Spider-Man pen and then a World War Hulk flashback occurs. Boy, this video has a lot of event references. Like and subscribe since you got this far in the video. Hit the bell as well. Join the Discord server. There are nerds there. We get back to Misty Knight and Jessica Jones investigating. Knight scans a data disk using a Stark device. But that's an invasion of privacy, not if it involves a global security risk. We transition to our heroes storm chasing to our next focus character. That is not the main character for several pages. Also, Corgi? Fun fact, the original Sentry had a Corgi named Watchdog. I like your boots, but why they're so big though? This is Farhad, not going to even try pronouncing that, which is what the character does technically want. Probably would have helped to have a pronunciation guide here. He is immune and his power is big feet. There's also a lame explanation about why he's not in Krakoa because no pizza. Today he is going to play dodgeball. I still need to watch that movie. Things go wrong and the house is brought down once again. This is the face of a man who remembers cool moments. It's interesting to note how pretty much all his flashback moments of Sentry are Vaughn moments. We see a bunch of people chattering about him in a single panel. I knew his big feet would be trouble, is my favorite line here. He runs away into the forest. Ryan Sentry comes in. Yes, there's a Ryan Reynolds joke in there. This is the main bad guy of the miniseries. Cue fight. Yes, Ryan's gimmick is the greater good, even though it's not. You've just convinced me to fight for the greater good too. Time to punch a bigot. Very charm. That feet panel is also both amazing and terrible. Cue Ryan saying his dad taught him fighting. Rough. Who we also never see or is never mentioned again. Toppler absorbs him and takes his powers and declares his hatred of mutants. No other mutant appears in the series. There are mutants, however. There are mutant references. Our final page is on the moon for our hero crying about what happened. Good setup, I suppose, with the other people being in danger, who the main character only meets until the final issue. Knight and Jones continue their hunt for the powered, while all the Sentry-powered people are being killed. No, they don't save a single one except for Mallory. Only a Sentry jog away! Our main enemy meets our main character on the moon and thinks our main character is cute. Not really sure what the writer was saying about here, to be honest, with that whole bigot thing last issue. Not sure why Ryan Sentry doesn't kill this girl on the moon to absorb her power. Could have even fixed this by having Ryan talk about wanting a big hero fight at the end, to live up to a cliche. But of course that would cause other problems. I guess he didn't kill her because she was cute. Should have gone for King Green reference in dialogue. At Times Square, we see a gay Asian magician named Marv Chow, the human pretzel bike stand. I had to say that one out loud. Things go wrong, and when he gets his powers, his almost boyfriend thinks he's a mutant. Ryan Sentry comes in and absorbs him. Then we get to the next victim, fat, Hispanic single mom. She also stops some shoplifters using her Sentry powers. But because of this action, the power goes out in that area of the city. That's it, that is an oopsie daisy. Meanwhile, Mallory steps up and decides to see some people because she could not be held down by her disability forever. MC saves some migrants or asylum seekers onto a vague, unknown country. Did she even know if this was the target country? What if this was just the same country where they were? Then this major topic, this major political issue is not talked about again for the rest of the series. I see this cycled over and over at the newsroom. Government officials don't even listen to the likes of Captain America and Captain Marvel when they speak about world issues. Do I smell in the window, or is that totally appeal to authority? Also, I do not see any buildings nearby. You could have gotten them any closer to buildings? Knight talks about the gay Asian man's dating app, even though earlier it was described as a hookup app, which are very much not the same thing. Well, I guess he could have just used it as a hookup app. And the end of the issue is Ryan Sentry coming in to save the Avengers from the UFOs. And yes, that was his name I was saying the whole time. And whose idea was to put 4 powerful people on an 18-wheeler for transport? Ryan Sentry talks about how he is a huge fan and better than the last guy. Lame syndrome, I know. Wanda then suggests to read Ryan's mind. Ryan Sentry does not consent to having his mind read. What are the consent laws for mind reading in the Marvel Universe anyway? We don't even get a look inside his head. That would have been perfect time for backstory. Avengers do not need his dude. So this kind of makes the Avengers look bad. Talk about mind control and consent down in the comments. Captain Marvel does something sensible by asking a question. Ryan just decided to go away. Would have been more impactful if he just said nope in all honesty. Flashback warning. Yes, now here's the flashback. How so many random people got Sentry powers. Turns out Ryan crashed onto Mallory after being an idiot to a girl. Them bumping into each other is not mentioned again, by the way. Also, Glowing Skull Man gave the Sentries all their powers. This is all so strange. That's exactly the person we should talk to. Lady Sentry is crying and wants to hug someone. But at least she does realize that she needs to go out there and save people. She travels to where a storm is. Comic does not say how she finds out about the weather event. Thank you. Knight and Jones talk to Doctor Strange and his wife Clea. During events of the ongoing Doctor Strange title, there was a sweet lord that's a nightmare to explain. It's Doctor Strange's fault for the series. Blame him. Read Jed McKay's Doctor Strange run is what this section is saying. Mainly because I have not read it myself, but sweet lord, there's a lot of on that page. Witness! A Turkish-Canadian female CFO who works at the largest telecom of Canada gets Sentry powers. For a single panel, she fights the wrecking crew. Want to see more action? No, have a cat about to eat some food. She also has a cot. We spend more time with the cat than the lady. Ryan Sentry pops up, and we have the souls of his victims watching out. Closest this series gets to the original Void/Sentry dynamic. Then we cut back to the same billboard and spot. I bet that storm scene was added in the last minute. It would have certainly flown better. Ryan Sentry drops down and says, "You should have stayed on the moon." Jessica Jones team up tie. Ryan rats on himself about his murders by saying Denise's name out loud. I guess that's a parallel to the Void. Cue Ryan punching Jones out of the comic for a few pages. The extra serious face on Ryan to the more relaxed, angry face of Mallory. Cue more fighting and the greater good. Boom. Yellow beam of justice. Mallory gets close enough to Ryan to activate some sort of psychic connection. Ayla, the reason Ryan was scared about Scarlet Witch reading his mind, not the privacy concerns. Mallory finally realizes the truth. Here comes some fighting. Just as Ryan is about to kill our hero, something happens. A meeting. The Indian man with big feet says he knows something about resurrecting because he has done it before. He talked about the X-Men process of bringing back dead mutants. Just read the PowerPoint screen. Didn't he not go to Krakoa? Kinda wish these got more screen time and showed up earlier in the series. Cue more fighting. A Friends of Humanity anti-mutant group thanking mutants is a great panel. Good taste of irony. I mean, they didn't know. But still, good taste of irony. They all make their final stand as Mallory makes a speech. I know, I might mess up at times as I try to navigate these powers with cerebral palsy. That won't stop me from trying my best. Boy, that needs a second draft. And during that final energy beam, the killed ones die all over again. That's a bit depressing. Ryan has been defeated and is captured by ACD. Mallory turns herself in because she did destroy a ton of buildings. Her parents arrive just in time to say goodbye, but Knight assures them that this is just training. The roommate is allowed on a sub-level of ACD HQ and talks more about stationary stores. Clara says even though Misty Knight has to be the one to invite her on the base. Now this is the final page. We have Misty Knight talking about her disability. Her robot hand can produce energy beams and super strength. I feel like there's a bit of a difference there. Side note, it's super interesting to think that back when her arm debuted it was science fiction, but now we actually have robot arms. They don't have laser blasts though. Yet. And because she has a disability, this is why she is training a girl with a disability. Knight calls her the new Sentry, but Mallory wants to force her own path. And our hero's name is Solaris. What? Expected her to be called Sentry? Like the whole point of the series to crown a new Sentry? No, dear reader, she has to forge her own path. Also, the back matter of the issue has a bunch of designs for just a few panels. These are really good. I feel so bad that they are only there for a short time. So what's next for this character? To be shafted on a team book that gets cancelled after 10 issues? A yearly appearance in whatever diversity anthology? What's the game plan? Also, those pre-kids of the single mom are never gonna see her again. Did anyone point that out? About how dark that is. Sentry recommended reading. Sentry Reborn. Paul Jenkins and J.R. Geo. 8 issues. This one stresses that anyone could have been the Sentry like this series does. I won't tell you the true origin of his powers in this video, just a hint. Oddly similar to the Ultimate Universe. Dark Avengers and Siege by Bendis and a whole lot of awesome artists. Sentry is his most followed here, and most impactful as well, which is why this miniseries I just reviewed has so many flashback panels to Bob Reynolds' life. Was going to say King in Black here, but this is where he gets Worf effect. More background if you want to read this mini, but you really just have to read the first issue. And then the King in Black Return of the Valkyries mini tie-in. Make sure you have liked this video and subscribe to the channel. Amazing Astronaut reporting out.